Hey y'all, this is Pebbles, and today I have some more Christmas DIYs for you using, you guessed it, pool noodles. My husband had a ton of these things, different sizes that he had left over from a video that he made, and I thought, well, let's see what I can do with it. Better than him just throwing them out. So let's get busy. The first DIY is as easy as they come. All I did was take two of the smaller $1 pool noodles. I butted the ends together, making sure they were flush. I needed to attach these two together, so I took duct tape and I just wrapped it around a few times. And I just repeated this step with the other ends. I picked up this garland here from Walmart for $7.88. So to get this started, I took some hot glue and I put a little dab there to attach my garland. Now I suggest using a low temp gun. The high temp is just too hot, it wants to melt it. I just made do with what I had. I was trying to be careful. So I just started wrapping it around and I glued the spots here and there until I got all the way to the end. I picked up this bow from the Dollar Tree, and these garland ties I also got from the Dollar Tree. I took two of the garland ties and twisted them together. Then I just fed it through the opening of the back of the bow. And then I just twisted it a couple of times. To attach the bow, I just put one tie over the top, one over the bottom, reached around the back and twisted it on, and there it is. For this DIY, I took a pine board and I cut it 9 by 9 inches, and it's 1 inch thick. I gave it a coat of white Waverly chalk paint. Then I took a red pool noodle that's 4 inches in diameter, put it in my miter box, and cut it to a 3-foot length. I took the white duct tape and I just wrapped it around in a spiral pattern all the way down to the bottom. Then I just hot glued the pool noodle to the center of my board. I took a white ornament that I got from Walmart for $2.78. It's probably about, I'd say around 5.5 inches in diameter. And I just glued it to the top of my pool noodle. I decided to put fairy lights inside the ball, so I took it back off, removed the cap, put the fairy lights in, and as you can see right here, I cut a little slot inside the pool noodle to stick my little battery pack so I can turn it on and off without pulling it back off. And I just used a rubber band to hold the wire in place. Then I took this buffalo snow that I got from Walmart and I just wrapped it around the bottom. And that's it. It is done. Let me know in the comments section if you think I should make a North Pole sign to go on it or just leave it as it is. For this DIY, I started out by measuring and marking my pool noodles. 2 of them at 4 inches, 2 at 6, and 1 at 8. Then I cut them out on my miter box. Using these battery operated tea lights as my guide, I took my knife blade and carved around it, and once I got around, I pushed the pool noodle down and then set my tea light inside. I picked up this tray from the Dollar Tree, so once I cut the noodles, got the lights in, I stood them up inside the tray to make sure everything was going to fit the way that I wanted it to. Now for the fun part. No, not really. I decided to use white puffy paint to make it look like the wax was melting, you know how candles do, because I didn't have a low temp hot glue gun. So I spread it around the top and around the edge to let it run naturally. Then I just added to it, shaping it how I wanted it. Then I sprinkled glitter on the white paint and just lightly tapped off the excess. I'll be honest, this stuff took probably a good 24 hours to dry. By the time I got to this step, I had went to Joann Fabric and picked up a low temp gun. So I used it to hot glue the noodles to the tray. I just turned the tray at an angle so that I could see both sides so I can get it centered as best I could. Once it was all glued down, then I poured some balls on both sides and stuck in little pieces of greenery to finish it off. For this DIY, I took a red pool noodle that I got from the Dollar Tree. I took white duct tape and I wrapped it around the pool noodle in a spiral direction all the way down to the bottom. And I took a wire clothes hanger and I just straightened it out as best I could. Then I stuck the hanger through the hole in the center of the pool noodle. Then I manipulated it by twisting and bending to get it in the shape of a candy cane. This would make a pretty awesome outdoor decoration. All you would have to do is just run a stake in the ground and slip it right over it, because it does have a hole in the center. Now on to the last DIY. Took what was left over of the 4-inch pool noodle that I used on the North Pole, and I cut it at about 1.5 inches thick. I picked up some glass votives from the Dollar Tree that came in a pack of 4. That was a pretty good deal. I want these votives to sit inside the noodles, so I used them as a guide, and I cut out a circle so that they will fit in it. I took a garland tie from the pack that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I wrapped it around the votive, and then I twisted it to hold it in place. I stuck it back into the pool noodle, and then I brushed on some white chalk paint to give it that snowy effect. I took some berries from a floral pick, Mod Podged over them, and put some thick white glitter on them because I wanted them to have a frost look. And I did this on wax paper because I didn't want it to be glued to any paper or anything else that I had it laying on. Once it was dry, I hot glued it to the wired garland. And that's it. If you like this video, please click subscribe. Go ahead and hit that bell too. That way you can be notified when I put out the next video.